A happy post-Thanksgiving Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to Waking Up with Flyer and Ice. Thank you for joining us this Sunday morning. We are brought to you by the Heat Ratio Sports Network. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube and check us out on all podcasts. We're on Apple, Spotify. We now are streaming live on Flyers Extreme on Facebook. With me today, the great Nick the Scout Tosti, who's in my box. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. I got to fix that. My God, I would have gone crazy if I didn't fix that right away. And co-host emeritus, Zach Kinderchuk of My Dad Used to Play Hockey fame. Zach, welcome aboard as always.
Hey, good morning, buddies. How you doing?
We are well. Nick, how are you?
I'm good. Always positive.
Okay, that'll change shortly.
Yes. I'm bringing a lot of negativity today.
Let's go.
That's right. No, I have you in mind, Zach. So, Waking Up with Flyer and Ice is a weekly review show. So we have 3 games to discuss. We played Tampa Bay, Florida, and Carolina. I'll start with you, Zach. Wait, actually, you know what? Let's do something. As a teacher, when you have parent conferences, little Johnny could be the worst kid in the class, right? But you have to tell the parents something positive to start, right?
Oh, wow. I would have thought it would have been reverse.
No, you gotta build up the parents easy. So I'll start with something positive and say the penalty kill's been really good, and they're terrific on draws. They all 3 games they were superior on draws for what it was worth. But I took a positive out of that little stretch. Now let's get to business. Zach, thoughts on a disappointing 3-game stretch?
Well, the only positive I can think of is the game started on time. That's about it. Yeah, I guess the penalty kill is, not much improved, but certainly overshadowed by the dreadful power play that continues to plague this team. And beyond that, and I know that this is as tough a stretch you can possibly have for a week in the NHL. These are 3 juggernaut teams. And Florida, the game was close, but that's only because Martin Jones played remarkably well. Other than that, this felt very, very last March. And it feels like a team that is absolutely flailing. And I guess what bothered me even more than the game was all the post-game stuff. It's just flashbacks of Andy Reid post-game press conferences, like AV saying, it's my job to make sure these players are playing better. That's up to me. That's on me. So imagine, Dan, at that parent-teacher conference, you just described your job and then described failing at your job, and everyone's like, "Well, okay, but I guess he still gets to keep his job."
Right.
That's the sports world, unfortunately. Nick.
Well, yes, and I agree on all points. And one more positive note I think would be the goaltending. Although it has not bailed them out of this situation. I feel like both these goaltenders have played relatively well. We watched the game together, Dan, the other day, the Carolina game, and there are a couple soft goals by Hart that he probably would like to have back. But all in all, I think the goaltending stretch was pretty good. Yes, AAV needs to be held accountable. There's a coaching element to this that is missing. That is got to be to blame for what's going on, with the way this team is playing, especially on the power play. And I know we're going to get to that, but it's just what's going right now other than the penalty kill and some good goaltending and winning the draws. You can't, offensively, we've got to find an identity. They've got to figure out what they are, play to the system that they're practicing, and play with more patience and wait for their opportunities. And it's just a complete mess right now. And I really, being a fan and being somebody who watches a lot of hockey, I just want to see them come out of this. But it doesn't look very promising right now. They're really in a whirlwind downhill spiral right now.
Now, gentlemen, at the beginning of the year, when we had that nice start, an issue that I've always had with this team, besides, we just referenced skill set, they just can't score, was team speed. And Nick alluded that if you get out of your zone and make crisp passes, your team speed will increase, or you'll show some team speed. And they were flying in the early part of the season, and now they're back to looking like a slow hockey team. I have NV streams, ladies and gentlemen. Check them out at the bottom of the screen scrolling. And I was watching the Calgary Winnipeg game last night, laying in bed. Talk about different brand of hockey, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be so system based and do those crisp passes, get out of the zone, because we just don't have that natural skill to compensate for system failure. Zach, would you agree with that?
I don't think so, actually. I think this is a more skilled team. I saw a stat yesterday where, because I've been on Twitter calling for AV to be fired. I'd like Tocchet to come in, because I think Tocchet brings the sort of toughness that someone like Rod Brind'Amour did in Carolina. You mentioned that it was a joy watching Calgary, Winnipeg. As much as they cleaned our clocks, it was a joy watching Carolina, and that to me seemed like a very Brind'Amour team. It felt like a whole bunch of number 17s out there playing the way that he used to play, and I think that Tocchet would bring a lot of like number 22 toughness to it. But the stat that I'm referring to is that all our so-called skill players are really underperforming in terms of putting up stats on the point sheet. But I think that they're still very, very skilled players. I don't think that we have the roster deficiencies that people seem to be crying about right now. I truly believe in the talent of this team. And are we lacking a little bit of speed? Sure. But I don't think Calgary is a particularly fast team. I don't think Winnipeg is. Carolina, obviously, is. Florida is ridiculous. And obviously Tampa Bay, you got to be that fast to defend the cup as many times as they have. But I think that this team I understand that we have some injuries and we're playing through that, but there's not any superstars that we've lost. We're not missing Malkin and Crosby. We're missing Hayes and Allison, and there should be enough talent there to make up for it. And I believe that there is. And again, I guess this is why it goes back to AV for me. I don't think it's a lack of skill, but it's going to be always a team talking point when we talk about the Flyers, especially when I compare it to the era that I normally cover. It's a lack of grit. And when we were flying high, we were seeing a lot of grit. And we're not seeing that right now. We were seeing one guy, even if he was called up from the Phantoms for 24 hours, Nick Seeler, he was showing grit. Well, he's not doing that anymore. When's the last time you really saw someone lay somebody else out or have a memorable interaction in terms of physicality? That's where I see sort of the deficiency. I understand that we can't skate as fast as some of the other teams, but I do believe that we're as skilled as them, as long as we reinforce that skill with actually putting bodies on bodies.
Now, I guess my ultimate point is, and I do appreciate that answer, because when the Flyers are playing well, we always say, my God, what a balanced lineup they have. Lines 1 through 3. Everyone can put the puck in the net. So from that perspective, I'm contradicting myself. But I guess my point is, and I don't know the answer, why does this team go in and out of why do they get in these malaises year after year? Like this, even pre-AV, they'd get into 10-game ruts, and then you have to get hot to even contend for the playoffs. It's back, and they're always just back and forth. Mm-hmm. It's just never consistent with team, and that's kind of where this skill thing, you would, if you had a Matthew Barzal, if you had a Draisaitl, obviously we're talking about elite players. By accident, sometimes it would cover for the deficiencies. That's kind of what I was referring to. But when they're not honoring the system, whether it be because they're blocking out the message from the coach. I don't know what it is, right? Why do you come out with your hair on fire the first 5 to 7 games and now look like this? Are you blocking the message from the coach? Is something making these players not play hard? Nick?
I think it has to be. And we talk about the end result right now. The problem is they're not scoring goals. So how do you get this team in a better position to execute the game plan minute by minute, period by period, and put the puck in the net? So you've got to have a process for that. And I think speed has it has something to do with it, because if your defense isn't, we're getting out forecheck. So the opposition is beating us into our own zone and maintaining possession and just kind of picking our defensemen's pockets. So, our defensemen have to do a better job. It's just a whole snowball effect. Our defensemen have to do a better job of gapping up, on the zone entries coming into our D zone. They've got to do a better job of getting to the puck when it's dumped in or when it's behind our own net. And, likewise, they've got to, execute a better breakout, and a better breakout is going to, translate into a good neutral zone, clean through there, and a clean offensive zone entry. So we're not seeing any of those things. We're talking about scoring goals, but we're not even at the point where, like, we're 3 steps behind that right now. And to me, that is absolutely a coaching issue, because what is going on in practice? What are they practicing? Are their practices good? Are their practices lousy? What are they doing to compensate for a bad practice? Are they practicing the power play? Is there a system there in place? All these things to me come back to coaching. And you're right, Dan. I mean, it's been different coaches, and what's going on? I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't see our players moving their feet like other players do, or gliding around a lot, which obviously is going to reduce your team speed and transition. It's just, there's a lot of problems right now, and AV's got to be held accountable. I mean, this is, how long is his leash? That's going to be the question going forward. How much time are they going to give him until they get things fixed? I don't know.
Does Ristolainen look like a well-coached player? He doesn't. He has moments of absolute brilliance, but most of the time he just looks lost out there. And I think that he is very talented. I think that he could bring kind of an X factor to the game. But I watch him sometimes. Like, is anyone telling you what to do? In between games, right? Like where you should be, when you should pinch, when you should fall back. I don't get the sense that anybody is guiding him to help him fulfill his potential. I don't see it. I almost feel bad for him. He kind of looks like, I remember just playing when I played hockey. There was one kid who was on there just because, his dad paid the fee for him to be on the ice, and he would just sort of wait for his shift to be over. Ristolainen shifts kind of look like that sometimes. And same with Provy. Provorov should be a bona fide number 1 defenseman. And there's oftentimes that I don't feel like he knows exactly how to be that. And that's when leadership comes in. And I feel like AV is just providing none of it.
Well, I want to build on that, Zach, because and I'm not, this is not a show where I ever try to attack a guest or put them on the spot. That's not my point here. I follow you. You're one of my good friends, and I follow you on Twitter. You're a very smart hockey guy. You had mentioned, I don't understand the Sanheim hate.
Yes.
I find him a delight to watch.
I do.
Something to that effect. So Nick and I think, would disagree with that. And we're not haters. We're just, it's like parents that are disappointed in their kids for something that they have done.
Right.
We're disappointed in his play and lack of progression. I mean, the guy should be he had that really nice game a week back. He had that nice offensive flurry where the guy held a stick and he almost put the puck in the net. But tell me what you see in Sanheim, whereas you're kind of and I agree with you saying negative things about Risto and Provy. So where is Sanheim not in that category for you?
Oh, he's definitely got a downside, but I was a big fan of Obey QBL too. I just in a system where no one is coaching anybody and there doesn't seem to be any sort of game plan. I see Sanheim at least taking chances, the way that Giroux used to 7 years ago, the way that a star player or a potential star player does. And Sanheim gets caught flat-footed. There's times that I've definitely seen him like, well, that goal was clearly his fault. But also when I see, when I do see those 6 to 7 minutes of excitement that the Flyers are giving us over 3 periods now, it seems like Sanheim's involved. and he's the one who has, almost the courage is the wrong word, but the intuition to pinch, to get in and actually try to create some sort of scoring. And I don't really see Provy doing that. Ristolainen obviously had his goal, but we're not going to see another one of those again. I think 13, 14 games. Sanheim, to me, it's one of the. We're getting into these really boring phrases, I suppose, but eye test. Like when I watch him play, it's like, all right, I get why this man's in the NHL. He can do things, and I think that if he had a decent, defensive coach guiding him a little bit better. And this is true for the entire core. And I understand they're missing Ellis, who's an absolute rock, but they're good enough that they should be playing better. And at least with Sanheim, what I like about him is I see glimpses. At the very least, I do see more glimpses from him than I do anybody else on the defense right now. I suppose that's why I like him. I wish he were more physical for sure.
No, I get that. He's a beautiful skater. No, I totally get that. There's definitely something going on because if some of these players went to other clubs, they would shine. Our friend
Baker Bell just has.
Yeah, our friend Frankie James is checking in. Frankie, thank you as always. And before we address Frankie's question, just a reminder, everyone, this Saturday coming up in Aston is a great fundraiser for Flyer Alley podcast. One of their members, Jake, his father is suffering from esophageal cancer, and this is a fundraiser to help the cause. Again, Frank, thanks for checking in and reminding me to push that Saturday in Aston. Donations are still accepted. You can check out Flyer, Alley Pod, Old City Sports, and see how you can donate for this wonderful cause. We are all brethren in this podcasting business. So, Frankie, I'm going to get to your topic right now, and I'm going to let the scout talk about our power play. And Frankie's right. We talked about the power play and a lot of these topics because things haven't changed, right, Frankie? Right, Nick? Right, Zach? They haven't changed. The power play is still abysmal. They were 0 for 6 in this stretch. We've discussed to what we believe is a misguided combination of units, the inability to enter the zone. Nick was in my ear about how they have no possession behind the net on the power play. Nick, can you elaborate, please?
Yeah, I mean, when you're in a penalty kill, what's the last thing you want to see from the opposing team when they're in your own zone? You don't want to see them behind the net, just kind of
in the office, right?
Exactly. You don't want to see them back there, just kind of dictating the way play is going. We have absolutely. There's no way we could operate a power play that way. They can't do it. They try to do it. They can't do it. They don't have the skill set to operate in the office behind the net and dictate the way the play is going from down low. So what has to happen? We need clean entry, first of all. Forget the dump and chase. Dump and chase is not working on a power play. It's just a waste of time. It's a reason why we're not scoring. We're spending 30, 40 seconds going back and forth up and down the ice because we're dumping we're dumping the puck and we're not chasing the puck, or we are chasing the puck and we're just too far behind. We need clean zone entry and we need perimeter play. We need to cycle the puck around the perimeter, D to D, along the half wall, and just kind of work it that way and break down keep them in their box, because you can maintain possession when you're on the perimeter, because the penalty kill is staying more interior and protecting what's going on down low. So if we operate around the perimeter a little better and then find our gaps, walk it in, and then hit a player that's open, get to the net. That's what needs to happen here on this. I've been saying it for about 2 weeks now. And when they do that, they get opportunities. So, what are they practicing? What's their identity? They don't have an identity. They don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're practicing. It's just, you're not a down low team. You've got to figure out what's going on, maintain possession. It's just too much back and forth. We're on our 20-yard line. We're punting. We're getting the ball back. We're going 7 yards. We're punting. We're getting the ball back. It's just the same thing over and over again, and expecting a different result. And that's not going to happen right now with the way this team is playing. So they've got to fix the power play 100%. Even if it was a little bit better, there's 1 or 2 more goals that we'd have had in all these games and would have kept us a little more competitive through this 3-game, 4-game stretch on last week. So, that's coaching, guys. That is 100% coaching.
And Zach, another thing that I notice is, other than Giroux, they play hot potato on the power play. Some players just don't want the puck on their stick.
Seemingly.
It comes around to them, and they right away give it up. there's no, like Nick said, there's no moving of their skate. They're flat-footed when they receive a pass, and they quickly want to get rid of the puck. It's like Giroux or bust on this team right now with any kind of quarterbacking on a power play. So I don't know if you can elaborate any more than the scout just did.
No, I don't know if I could either. It just reminds me, you guys have been a Flyers fans as long as I have.
Longer.
Excuse me. Longer, right?
We're old.
You're old, man. So you remember when McDonald's used to sponsor the power play, and every time the Flyers didn't score, they would add $25 to the pot. And these were like sort of dark era Flyers. This was like Tommy Soderstrom, Greg Kozlowski era, and all it really did was point out how bad the team was, because the pot would get to like $8,000. How long has it been? And thankfully, there's not any sort of promotion happening like that now, because while it's great if you're the lucky fan who eventually wins the power play, and it's just this reminder that, holy hell, 5-on-4, this is one of the worst teams in the league. And you're right, we don't have a quarterback. Giroux is the closest thing. We brought in Keith Yandel specifically for this purpose, and he was great for the first couple games. Everything was so great the first couple games. And Yandel has an incredible track record of quarterbacking power plays. The man has the quietest 500 assist career that I've ever heard of in the NHL. I don't know what happened, but you're right. It's hot potato. Nobody wants to shoot. We were supposed to have more shooters. Farabee was supposed to be a big shooter this year. Atkinson. And we're just getting guys kind of giving it to Giroux and being like, hey, you're the closest thing to a superstar we have. Let's see what you got.
And real fast on that note. Now, again, Farabee's goal the other night was absolutely beautiful, right? But weren't you more shocked than anything? Like, did I just see a Flyer do that? And that's kind of what I'm hinting at. The fact that I was beyond shocked that a Flyer entered the zone, undressed the players, and scored like an elite player shocked me. And that's the inherent disappointment that I have, is that the fact that I have shock on that is concerning, because as good as Giroux is, as good as Atkinson is, as good as Farabee is, as far as the snipe, when it's set up, they don't usually do it via the entry, kind of like a Matt Barzal. Obviously, the Connor McDavids of the world, but they're a different level. But the fact that it happened was so stunning. That's where my lack of pure talent philosophy comes in.
Well, when you undress a guy in shorthanded, that's a star player move. That was a thankfully, now that ESPN shows hockey highlights again, that was a Sports Center goal.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll build confidence, right?
I would hope so. It would be nice to see Farabee's confidence escalate quite a bit. I don't know where his head's at. You scored twice in consecutive games, and that's great. You start feeling better about yourself. He's certainly got skills to do it. I think preseason I had him pegged for over 30 goals, and I had Atkinson for close to 40. I think after the second game, actually, I had him at 73. We got a little over optimistic there, but you were shocked for sure, just because we haven't seen it in a while,
right?
In a couple of weeks. But I know that Farabee has the ability to do that, and I think that there's other guys that have the ability.
TK can do it.
TK can absolutely do it.
Something has to be unleashed with these guys. All right. So my next little question is that we started the week with a depleted and what appeared to be an uninspired Tampa Bay team. I mean, they didn't have Kucherov for point. I don't want to hear us complaining about injuries, right? We played a Barkov-less team in Florida. Okay. So Tampa Bay looked uninspired. They were ripe for the taking, yet we came out more listless than ever. And that's what disappointed me more so than just the fact that we were shut out 4-0, is that I just don't understand how we could have come out so flat. I mean, and that's when, Zach, you mentioned on Twitter, shades of last year. Am I correct? Isn't that in the start? So, and that's all I have to say on that. And I kind of want to tie into that. Zach, you hinted last year in a tweet after the Tampa Bay game, which I just alluded to. Now with this Carolina game, dare we go there? Or can we just say it's a funk we're in? These things happen in a long season. Even the good teams, you're shocked to find out, let's say, Tampa's lost 5 out of 6 games. You're like, really? And can this shit be fixed? I think we all know the answer. There's something deeper. Can we only hope that this is a funk we're in?
Yeah, of course I do.
But the truth is,
The truth is I think it was an accurate tweet, and I stand by it. It was a very last March effort, and they did follow up. I'll give them this with a better effort. Last March for the Flyers was just an historically bad month for an NHL team. I mean, one of the worst in history, and did bounce back a little bit against Florida, who you're right, missing their absolute best player. Jones stood on his head, but last year, we'd follow up a 4-0 loss with another 4-0 loss. So I was like, okay, we at least got a point in Florida. The first time anyone's gotten a point in Florida on their home ice this season. So that was encouraging. Then Carolina, I'm like, all right, it's not going to get any tougher or any easier. You're going to go against one of the most well-coached teams in the league, arguably the best team in the league. And then they just laid an egg. And that's very last March. So we're what, 20 games in, 20 games in. So it's not the beginning of the season anymore. It's a quarter of the way through the season. So yeah, I think anybody who wants to say, it's the same as last year, you have a little bit of justification. What the Flyers need, obviously, is a shot in the arm. Whether that is a 3 or 4 game winning streak, whether it is a hat trick. Can you imagine a hat trick, a Flyers hat trick? How great that would be. Another moment of vengeance like we had earlier in the season, or just firing our French villain coach. Like that would be fine with me. At the very least, hey, that would be different than last year.
Well, the thing that we were
very
talking,
expansive answer, I understand.
No. When you talk, we listen. We were at a bar watching the game, Nick and myself, with Nicky Nuts, and we were discussing how the Flyers statistically have had the hardest schedule in hockey. Maybe that's, but honestly, there are no easy games anymore.
Exactly.
So that's my concern with people. I'm not saying people as in Zach Kinderchuk, but that say, well, we've had a hard schedule. It's not going to get any easier. I mean, in theory, we play the Devils and the Islanders coming up, right? Devils owned us last year, and they're a fast, young team that has a similar record, but a different vibe about them. Mm-hmm. The Islanders are going to be a desperate team. We'll get to all that shortly. And then after that, we have a nice break, talk about practice. After we have to play the Rangers after the Islanders. So Tuesday, Wednesday, we have back-to-back, and then we're off till Sunday. They better coach and coach hard if the same coaching staff is around after this 3-game stretch coming up.
Well, Tuesday got postponed, right?
Oh, it did? I did not know that.
The Islanders?
Yeah.
COVID?
The Islanders are under COVID protocol.
All right. Well, so, okay. Okay. Yeah. I see. I was out all day yesterday. Took the girls to the Sixers.
Like, no one's bummed out. Everyone's like,
no.
Well, good.
Yeah. So, and getting back to the Panthers game, if not for Jones, Zach, it would have been a 6-1 loss. I mean, that was one of the better goalie performances we've seen in a while. And at one point, I do this thing called Flyer and Ice puck points, where I give my opinions of the game and whatnot, like a post game puck point type thing. And I'm thinking, Nick, how do I put? We were very sloppy defensively at the time when it was 1-1. It almost looks like I'm being a complete hater. 1-1 game, and they were sloppy defensively. But they were sloppy defensively. They were horrible in their zone. And I'm like, and I was trying to have Nick, and Nick says, no, it's been a god awful performance. So Nick, can you elaborate on that? It was 1-1, and we were texting late in the game, and I didn't know how to address a poor defensive performance when it was 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, Jones stood on his head, but to me, those are actually and. It wasn't their defense's worst performance of the year. They were sloppy. Yes, they were making mistakes. But in my opinion, you almost have to, you guys are going to think I'm crazy, build off of the way they played that game. We've got to be more defensive oriented. They rebuilt this team and brought in players to re-energize what's going on defensively on this team. So, think about the way they play when they're on the penalty kill. They're playing better a man down than they are full strength or with a man advantage. So, again, trying to figure out what this team's identity is. At the end of the day, I think you've really got to protect your goaltender. You got to protect your area first, and they're not doing that. No. So it's all part of the process. Defensive oriented team, wait for be patient. capitalize on mistakes, and that will help this team kind of get out of the funk. So, but they're not doing that, and they kind of did that in the Florida game, and it was 1-0 quite all the way through. I guess Florida scored the third period, right, to tie it up. I mean, it looked like a game they were actually going to pull out.
Right, still a game.
Because and but rather than trying to get into a shootout like they did with Carolina, they're just not going to win those games. And it's there are no easy games in the NHL, and especially now that the league is just getting better and better and better. So the schedule is tough for us. The schedule is tough for everybody.
Correct.
So I'm not a schedule is tough excuse kind of guy. You got to go out, you got to play the games, and you've got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and they're not doing that. Ironically, we're beating the teams that in a lot of cases, earlier when they were playing better, they're beating the teams they weren't supposed to beat. Mm-hmm. So, where is that team? Where is that jump? Where is that move your feet, get to where you need to get, hard stop, seeing snow when, you're making a stop or you're making a play. And, that to me is energy. That to me is seeing the team perform at a high level, not gliding around like you're Disney on ice. They got to figure it out. And again, we keep coming back to this, and I'm with Zach. I mean, AV doesn't bring them out of this within the next week, 10 days. When's the time to pull the trigger? How much longer are we going to let this go on?
After today.
Yeah, buddy. That's
they lose to the Devils. Done.
Well,
I think you're right.
For me.
Yeah.
Can I make one more quick point too? Just
absolutely,
what Nick said
absolutely.
This was the other great thing about the beginning of the season too, is that you got the sense, and Cam Atkinson did such a great job ingratiating himself to this city. I think he was already friends with Hartnell, so great. I mean, everybody loves Hartnell. But then, going around town, doing all this stuff. And then that fun sort of translated into the first 2 weeks of the season. We saw the guys do all this stuff off the ice together. That it made it seem like, isn't it great when it seems like these guys, this team and all the players thoroughly enjoy each other's company? And we got no sense of that last year whatsoever. So it was fun to watch them on the ice, but I was really enjoying seeing the camaraderie off the ice. And that has completely disappeared. And I get it. You can't do that as much when you're losing, but you can do it some. No one expects you to go home and weep and cry and lock yourself in your bedroom after you lose an NHL game. You can still go out and enjoy yourselves. And I think the fans like to do that. So I feel like there is this malaise both on and off the ice settling into this team.
Yeah. And I hope it's not the fact that Ellis and Hayes came back and then they went right back out again. Mm-hmm. But Jim Jackson mentioned something that kind of Nick just referenced. And you've alluded to it as well, Zach. Last year, even though this year we started off as a well-balanced team, everything was looking really good. Last year was a smoke and mirror start where it was complete sloppy play from the jump, but the goaltending was brilliant. But then Jim Jackson said the defense was so poor in front of the goalies last year. That's when the confidence started to go in our goaltending, and that's when our team also just completely fell apart the rest of the year. Well, we had 16 turnovers in the Carolina game. We just talked about how sloppy they were in a 1-1 tie that if not for Jones, it would have been worse than that. So my concern moving forward is we just said it. We brought in Risto. We brought in Yandel. Well, Yandel's not known for his defense. He's known for his power play quarterbacking. And, of course, we brought in Alice. Alice is injured. And Sealer had a year off of hockey and is just a filler-in kind of guy. So, but the true guys to change the core of this team defensively was Alice, Risto for sure, Yandel to help with the power play. So that's my fear. I just don't want our goalies to go through what they went through last year, where the defensive play is just so horrible in front of them, and it's looking like that right now. That's what they really need to shore up. You alluded to that. Both of you alluded to that earlier. So if we don't shore up our defense, it doesn't matter what name is on the back of the jersey. It's the same crap as last year developing again. And that goes to coaching. So in hockey, I don't know if they do this, Zach. In baseball, the cop-out is fire the hitting coach, right? So if they fired Terrian, who was in charge of the power play, or is it the other way around? Yo's in charge of the power play or the defenseman? One of the two. Like both of them. One's in charge of the power play, failing. One's in charge of the defenseman, horrible. So Do you fire the assistants, or in hockey, if you fire my assistants, you got to fire me too? That's kind of the mindset of the head coach, I believe. But I think you're right. If this next stretch of games is poor, I think changes will take place. So the lines have been shuffled, as is the case when you go through poor play. So I'll start with Nick for the forwards, and then Zach, I'll talk to you about the decor.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, what would you like to see as your ideal line pairings? And then Zach, think about your defensive pairings.
Well, to me, as Farabee's confidence starts to increase and you start to see glimmers of hope like we did the other day in the skill set that you've got in this young man, I would like to see him move up to the first line on that right wing with Couturier and Giroux. You need to have a highly skilled first line and a balanced first line. So, Giroux is obviously a playmaker, although you're not going to see him score a ton of goals. He's fundamentally sound both ways. So he's got the ability to help in transition to possibly get somebody like Farabee with a skill set like his, get him the puck and let him do what he does best, which is what we saw the other night. So I would go with Giroux, Couturier, Farabee on the first line. Drop Konechny down. I like Frost. I would keep. Frost is somebody I think we need to keep around. He showed some good energy. His forecheck was really good. Honestly, he looked a lot bigger and more forceful on the forecheck than I thought. I always felt like he was like kind of a smaller, like slankier, skill kind of scatty player. Which he is, but he showed some grit too on that forecheck. So that like a Frost, Atkinson, Konechny second line now gives you, I think, a little more about. That's what I would like to see on those first two lines. And then, I love Lawton, Van Riemsdyk, and whoever. I don't like Oscar there. You guys know my take on that. 23, I think, needs to sit back a little bit and kind of find himself again, or find himself. Period. But Lawton, Van Riemsdyk. If it's Bunham in there or if it's Willman there, I'm okay with that. And then, Thompson, McEwen, and X player on that wing.
Yeah, we have a lot of voids now because of injuries. So,
right.
And that thus develops opportunities for players. And I agree with you. They cannot, the whole team is not scoring. So, like, if Frost doesn't score instantly, I hope they're not like up back to the minors you go for development. The whole team is lackluster, and he has shown some pep in the step. Zach, talk to me about the defensive pairings.
Before Zach answers that question, I would like to throw York in that and then go.
Well, actually, now let's bring something up. The elephant in the room, as it were. If Keith Yandel is not being utilized for the power play, what good is he to this team? Yeah. And now you can't bench the guy because he's on the verge of becoming the all-time consecutive games played leader in the NHL. I'm not sure how many games he has left. So you can't be the evil empire and sit a guy for poor play because he's not contributing offensively at all, and he's a defensive liability. Now, he's a great locker room guy, and I know he's loved throughout the league. He's one of those guys that you hear nothing but good reports about. But if he had a situation where there was no consecutive game streak, I think he would have been sat a few times by now. Just my opinion, but you can't. And that goes to the York thing. Who's blocking York to some extent, right? So
yeah.
Because I believe it was either it might have been you, Zach, or Nick, that I was disappointed in the Yandel trade because it basically blocked York from making this team. One of you said that, and I agreed because I believe York in a minute, Zach, would be better than Sanheim, and in 2 minutes better than Provorov. It's just that they're going to baby him a little bit,
but they got room for him.
Right, but I think they're babying him right now, and I don't.
Yeah.
Think, well, actually, he's on the COVID list, and
he just got put on.
Yeah,
so that's 10 days, I think.
Yeah, so it's not going to happen anytime soon. But I got sidetracked because again, I don't know how you guys feel if Yandel didn't have this consecutive game streak. would he even be in the lineup at times?
I hadn't thought about that. That's interesting. Yeah, you would be kind of a jerk if you break that. Wouldn't
Exactly.
You? Yeah.
You can't do it.
Is it Doug Jarvis he's going after?
Yeah,
Yep.
Doug Jarvis, who broke Gary Unger. I'm old enough to
Yeah.
remember when Doug Jarvis broke Gary Unger. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm old. All right, Zach, talk to us about your defensive pairings with Keith Yandle.
I like Ristolainen and Provy together. I think that makes sense to me. I'm into that. I'd like to see Sanheim with Braun. I think it's funny that we haven't mentioned Justin Braun.
Yeah, he's been solid this year.
He has been really good this year. To me, I'm comfortable with those first two pairings. And then, that's when it kind of starts to fall apart. Yandle was only supposed to come in and get, 13, 14 minutes a game and primarily on the power play. And then I know he was on the first unit for a few games there. I believe that he's back now. But, if he's not quarterbacking that, what's the point? What is the point of Keith Yandle? That's excellent of you to note that. Yeah, it would be nice, I suppose. Sometime this year he gets to play longer than Doug Jarvis. But other than that, I'd like to see different kinds of highlights coming out of Keith Yandle. And after a career of doing stuff like this, it's amazing how it's just come to an absolute halt. Because again, we're going to go back to those glorious first couple of weeks. It's the move looked genius. We got him dirt cheap. They got $900,000, and he had 5 assists. And it seemed brilliant. Another win for Fletcher, but that's beyond dried up. It's not that he's even, faded. He's just disappeared. And when you talk about defensive defensemen, he's not someone that you can count on your own zone. I don't have a problem bringing up York. I think you could, replace Sealer with York in a second, especially if Sealer's not going to, bring the grit that he did in the first couple of times he got brought up. But yeah, I'm a big York fan. Hopefully the Flyers do give him. We don't do well with our young guys, and haven't as an organization for a long since Keenan's kids. So I'm all about bringing him up and seeing what he's made of. And I agree with you too, Nick, on Frost. I was a big fan of his game and remain a big fan of his game. And Dan, you brought up a lack of speed that this team may have. Well, Frost certainly doesn't lack any sort of speed.
Right, and we talked about this the other night too. We definitely get a 7-Eleven coffee, Zach. I'm shocked.
Sorry,
anyway, that's
the best.
Seriously.
Oh, it's so good.
All right. Okay. All right. We totally digressed. I'm wild.
This is why I asked for 10:15 so I could run out to the legit coffee store. I had to settle for 7-Eleven.
Underrated coffee.
All right. I will retry. I will retry to put a little more sugar in. Anyway, we were talking at the bar when we were watching the game last night. Everyone, and of course we want to see York, but don't forget, Zumala is a highly regarded prospect as well. And I would really love to have a Phantoms scout, as it were, give me a report on which of those two is playing the best hockey, because we shouldn't be so presumptuous. We have another young defenseman in the system that is highly regarded. So either one of them would be maybe a jolt for our defensive core. But
you're gonna have another one with Adder coming out of
yeah. I believe you got the mush face on Ronnie Adder with Matt Moran. I don't think he was in love with him like we were, but we'll see. The bottom line is we have decor in the system, and 2 of them are supposed to be really good. So we shall see. We shall see. All right, gentlemen.
What are you guys, real quick, Dan, what are your guys' thoughts on Elliot Denoyer? Anybody following what's going on with him up at Halifax? I mean,
wasn't he hurt? Isn't he hurt now?
Oh, I don't know.
He was looking good for a while.
He was off to a good start, really good start, and I
think somebody posted
physical, fast, gritty, skilled. I mean, he's 19, so he still has, I think, another year of eligibility at juniors. But I mean, it's time to start thinking about him as well.
I think I saw
really good.
Yeah, I think I saw a tweet. What's with the injuries with our young talent and Wisdom, Denoyer, and then all these other guys were listed. So I was like, oh crap, the kid's hurt. Because I did watch I was thinking about him, and I watched a little highlight reel performance of him, and he's dynamic in junior. So hopefully that'll transfer, because Bobby Brink, how's he looking? The future hopefully looks bright with some of our transitional pieces because we do have some older players up front.
Mhm.
I know Forster's hurt.
Yeah, that's
He's out for
right.
quite a bit.
It was Wisdom first, Forster, Desharnais, and somebody else was listed in the group of young, talented players that were injured. And I was like, oh man, yeah, that's a big setback. Forster's another guy one day. So the future does look bright if we can find. Listen, you don't want to have a revolving door with coaches either. So if they do move on from AV, I want somebody that's going to be locked in for a while because the young talent is coming, and you don't want the equivalent of football, 5 offensive coordinators year after year.
Agreed.
So it is important with this young core that we were referencing now that we get some stability in this organization. So, gentlemen, let's talk about our next 3 opponents. Well, 2.5 really, because let's talk about our next 3, our 2 this week, because I just found out that the Islanders game has been canceled because of COVID, and I'm having a guest on our Flyer and Ice podcast this week, James Roberts, a terrific podcaster out of Toronto. He's going to be joining us, Nick, talking some Leafs hockey,
Nice.
NHL hockey. And I saw him. He believes that the NHL going to the Olympics will not take place. That was his hot take.
Yeah.
Because he believes that the COVID thing is going to, start happening again. And why risk the Olympics? But anyway, it begins, it seems, with the Islanders game. But so we have New Jersey tonight, a Lindy Ruff led team. Then the Rangers, who Zach, Nick, and I salivate over. We just would swap the Rangers lineup for our lineup in a heartbeat.
And that's how you do a real rebuild. They did it right.
Yeah, and ironically fired the GM that was rebuilding that team. And then we have a hiatus until Sunday, and look at the 2 juggernauts we have Sunday, Monday, Tampa Bay and Colorado. So it doesn't, a chance to heal and practice, I put, but the games don't get any easier. The Devils are a good, young, fast hockey team. And then we have the Rangers. Then we have Tampa and Colorado. The schedule does not get easier. Nick.
Oh my God. What are we going to do? I mean, these teams are good, and again, like I said before, there are no easy games. I mean, this, you'd think, okay, the Devils, okay, that's a breather game for us. No way, man. That team is fast and young and good and smart and talented. And then you go on to the Rangers. I mean, just forget about it. Adam Fox is just, oh my God, like Fox, Panarin,
Shesterkin.
Shesterkin. And I mean, Sabatajev. There's just, you go down the list, like it's going to be the Rangers game. I think we're going to get smoked by the Rangers.
Did you see Panarin throw his glove at Marchand?
Yeah. Well, yes. Was he given a fine or a couple
$5,000? The max allowed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. $5,000. No matter what you do, the worst you can do. You might as well just murder someone because $5,000. That's your punishment.
And I think he would have done it again. It was just.
It was great.
Yeah.
Other than the McDavid goal, I think the best hockey moment this year.
but in my opinion, we've got to be. I think we've got to be. Be not super aggressive. We've got to protect our zone, protect the net, clean breakouts, not really worry about offensive opportunities, be patient and allow the breakdowns from the speed of the other teams as the stretch goes on to compensate for our, take advantage of situations to where we can score some goals. But we've got to be good defensively in this stretch. We got to be good defensively all year. We got to be much better defensively. And that all translates, even like last year, it all translates into more opportunities offensively when, you're protecting what happens in your own zone.
And as Zach referenced, we're 20 games in, give or take, and we can't have the goalies saving our bacon for 60 more games this year. So we have to fix what's ailing us. And like you said, build your offense organically and fluidly off of sound hockey.
Right.
And not try to, compete.
Don't try and run and gun with these teams. You're going to see what happened in Carolina.
Right. If you're not a home run hitting baseball team, you can't keep up with the Yankees by hitting 3-run homers. Yeah, Zach, your take on this little stretch we had.
Well, you remember, as bad as last year was, the difference came down to getting owned by Buffalo and New Jersey, right? Yeah. Teams we absolutely should have beat. we win those games, we're in the playoffs. So you can't lose to the Devils. They are an up and coming team, and for the first time, I don't hate them. I'll never root for them, but I grew up hating them for a number of reasons. I hate Scott Stevens, like on a personal level. That's how I feel. But now they got Mark Recchi as an assistant coach. What am I gonna do? Root against Mark Recchi? How could you root against Mark Recchi? Who doesn't love Mark Recchi? And they are. I think. I don't think that they're any sort of meaningful contender, but they could easily win 3-1 tonight because they've been playing hard all season, and the Flyers haven't been. And if that happens, then God, as you brought up, Nick, Wednesday's going to look ugly. Wednesday could be an ugly game because the Rangers are playing with all sorts of confidence.
Well, Zach, to your point, there are New Jersey guys like us doing New Jersey Devil podcasts.
Yeah.
They're excited to be playing the Flyers.
Right.
So why should we be so arrogant and say we've got to beat the Devils? It's got to be a guaranteed 2 points. I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from, but it's kind of like the Eagles earlier in the year. Why should we be predicting wins against bad teams when those bad teams are like the Eagles are coming? They could be fair. It could fix our problem.
We're the team. Yeah, we're the team that they're talking about.
So right now we're the team because we clearly must look bad on film. We clearly must look bad on film.
Certainly the last 5 games we have, yes.
So anyway, Zach, any closing commentary about just the topics we've discussed today?
Yeah, it's still a joy to be a Flyers fan. That's always after 2 hours of like tweeting and engaging and everything like that. Sort of reality does sit back in, and it's like real fun. I haven't been back. I just came back to the East Coast, and let me tell you, man, I miss hockey culture. I can't wait to be at Wells Fargo. I really should have headed down there on Friday, but getting in and out of Wells Fargo on those Black Friday games is just a nightmare. So I can't wait to actually put on a jersey and head down and watch the game. So I always try to cap off a night of frustration and anger and venting and calling for men's jobs with a little dose of reality that this is all kind of fun. And as real as the emotions feel, they also fade away just as quickly. And I'm trying to, it's Thanksgiving week, so I'm trying to wrap up this thing with, some sort of gratitude, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? So I'm still grateful for you, Philadelphia Flyers, but God damn it, do not lose to the Devils tonight.
Yeah, and Zach, we have to discuss this at a meal in Cherry Hill while you're in town.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, I'd love to. I'm back for good. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Nice.
Nice.
All right, so Nick, any closing comments for you?
Oh wait, I have one thing to plug. I'm so sorry.
Hold on.
I'm so sorry because I'm the worst at plugging.
Plug away.
Can I plug my podcast real quick?
Dude,
I always forget to do this.
It's the best podcast in the biz. Go for it.
I'm so sorry, Nick, to cut you off.
No, man.
But
I love your podcast.
I just added a co-host for the next few episodes. Joe Watson and I will be doing the show together. That's awesome. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Good luck talking.
He loves. I had a great
conversation.
Yeah, I know, but now it's truly like provides that other perspective because he's on the ice with a lot of guys that I talk to, and Joe's a chatty guy. It should be a lot of fun.
Is there truth to the rumors? It's going to be called "I Played with Your Dad."
I know.
I can't wait to watch it. I think it's going to be great.
No,
I get some good, honest feedback.
Yeah.
No, viewers, please, if you want to watch a second podcast beyond ours, of course, you've got to watch My Dad Used to Play Hockey. Both you can catch it on YouTube and on all podcasting stations. It's just a soothing, good listen. And if you're a fan of history and the Philadelphia Flyers, it doesn't get any better. And that's why I eat up his show, because I watched these guys play.
Yeah.
I really did. They were the guys that made me love this game. So that's why I love My Dad Used to Play Hockey. So a well-deserved plug. Nick.
So go Birds. Let's go.
All right.
Big Eagles Giants game today.
That's right.
Look, we're ending it on a positive note. There's always tomorrow, and the future hopefully is bright with some of the young players that we talked about, and we just got to continue to get better. I mean, whether it's AV or hopefully, if I think we're all on the same page when it comes to number 22, Tockett would be such an unbelievable fit here. But keep hoping, keep believing. This team's got to get better, and it will.
And I'll close with this. And our apologies if we came out sounding like negative Nellies, but I mean, how could you not after the stretch we've been dealing with? But that being said, when they play good hockey, they are a well-balanced 3-line team that every line's equal to the other. And if we can get that back, then I'm very happy with this hockey team. But it's something coaching related, because you can't go from a well-balanced 3-line team to this malaise. I think they have a time where they just block out this coaching staff. I mean, I just can't think of any other reason that you go from playing damn good hockey to looking like this.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. And I'm not, and you can't use injuries as an excuse, because plenty of teams have injuries. But that's it. That's my comment. On behalf of Nick Descaltosti, Zach, my dad used to play hockey, Kinderchalk. I am Dan Green. We are Flyer and Ice. Please, again, subscribe on YouTube to Heat Ratio Sports Network. Tell your friends and family about this show. It's a good listen on the way home from work on Apple or Spotify or whatever streaming you like to listen to, or whatever podcast you like to listen to. Again, we play the Devils tonight, hiatus because of the Islanders, and we play the Rangers on Wednesday. So hopefully they are studying film, practicing hard. We shall see, and we will talk about it. So until next time, good hockey, everyone. Stay safe. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.